Cool. Welcome, everyone. This is our sixth monthly call. Time has flown of the new UK MTB Trail Alliance, our new umbrella organisation of trade associations, informal trail groups, and bike parks. This month we have Hans Stoops, who will introduce us to IMBA Europe and some of the common threads that tend to make trail advocacy efforts successful across Europe. And after that, Cathy Naveaux will introduce IMBA Europe's Take Care of Your Trails campaign, the benefits it could bring to your trails, and talk about how your group can get involved. So we'll follow that with a Q&A session with them both. And that'll be fairly short because I know it's an hour later in Europe, so it's way past their bedtimes by that stage. And then after you finish the Q&A, I will give a demo of the Trail Hub, our new knowledge sharing platform, talking through how it works, the resources that are there already, and answer any questions you have about it. And after that, we'll open it up to more general Q&A for people to ask questions of each other and what we're doing as an organisation. So as usual, if you use the little hands up icon at the bottom of the screen, so I know you want to speak, that'd be great. I'll call people in turn during the Q&A sessions. And when asking a question, please make sure to say who you are and what group you're from, so people know who each other are, basically. And then also, if you could please leave your video on during the call so everyone can see each other. And ideally also please change your display name so it includes the organisation that you represent. So for example, as you can see, mine is Robin Grant, the UK MTB Trail Alliance. That'd be really great. So having said that, over to you, Hans.
Yeah, thanks, Robin. Thanks for having us here to present the IMBA Europe and the work that we're doing. I met Robin last month in Sheffield at an event there. We've of course had contact with this kind of thing before, but it was nice visiting the UK and being able to see some of the work that's being done on the ground there. See if I can get my presentation up here and kick this thing off. Yeah, so I'll be sharing a little bit about the advocacy efforts that IMBA Europe is working on and how we work to try to improve conditions for mountain bikers. Let's see if I can get advances. I'll start off by giving a little bit of background in information about IMBA and our vision and what we our mission as an organization. I'll talk a little bit about advocacy for access and then advocacy for participation, slightly different issues, and then finish it off by talking about some of the projects and initiatives that IMBA is working on in this moment. A little bit about me. I'm the advocacy officer at IMBA Europe. I've been doing this for about 2 years now. Before that, I used to work at the Swedish National Cycling Advocacy Organization, Cykelfrämjandet, where I kind of kicked off the work that Cykelfrämjandet does with mountain bike advocacy in Sweden. In addition to working with other forms of recreational cycling like bicycle tourism and recreational cycling in general. I enjoy all forms of cycling. As you can probably hear, I was born in the United States, but I've lived in Sweden for about 25 years now, so I'm more Swedish than American at this point, I'd like to think. At IMBA Europe, our main kind of vision, our main goal is to try to get more people on bikes. We believe that having more people on bikes will lead to all kinds of benefits to society and the environment. And we believe that the best way to do that, to ensure that more people get on bikes, is to build better recreational infrastructure. And so by creating this kind of cycle of better recreational infrastructure, getting more people on bikes and contributing to society, we believe that, society will be the better for it. And basically, then all of the work that we do is kind of based around these two core values and concepts of working with people, getting more people on bikes, and building better trails, ensuring that there are better places for people to ride, and that inspire people to get out on their bikes. And we do that by working primarily with our member organizations. IMBA Europe is itself a member organization with our members are primarily national organizations across Europe, but we also have associate members that maybe represent smaller districts or regions. We work a little bit as well with alliances with other sorts of cycling advocacy organizations or other organizations in general, like the European Cyclist Federation, or working with ENOS, which is the European Network of Outdoor Sports, other organizations that kind of are aligned with our interests as well. We work as well with cities and regions that are interested in promoting mountain biking or working with mountain biking, providing better riding opportunities for their inhabitants or for visitors. And of course, we work quite a bit with the industry. They support a lot of the work that we do, and it's very good to try to coordinate the work that we do with the work that the industry does to ensure that they are representing the interests of mountain bike advocacy as well. So we work together with all these different kind of organizations to try to promote the work that we do. Yeah, so you see some of the examples of organizations that we collaborate with. Cycling Industries Europe is one of our primary sponsors. They collect money from industry to try to distribute to cycling advocacy work. European Cyclist Federation, the largest cycling advocacy organization in the world, that's promoting cycling primarily as a form of transportation and mobility. But we do try to work with them to ensure that mountain biking is represented in those issues as well. Europark, I'll talk a little bit more about them later, the European Network of Outdoor Sports, and everyone knows, of course, the UCI, which is trying to work on its own sustainability profile and will be assisting them with some work that they do going forward as far as nature restoration and the like. So to talk a little bit more about the work that's being done on advocacy for improving access. I think this is kind of the core issue that's really always been at the root of IMBA. IMBA was founded in 1988 in the United States as an organization trying to ensure that mountain bikers weren't prohibited from riding in certain areas, and to try to ensure that people had access to trails all over the place. And this is one of the primary goals that people always have when that IMBA has been working with, to try to promote access for mountain bikers in places where maybe they haven't been allowed to before. We believe that by doing this, we will be able to provide riding opportunities for all cyclists, all kinds of cyclists, and this is something that's, of course, key for the work that we do. So an example of something that we've been working on the last couple of years is this European Trails Policy Paper. This is something that we've been working on together with other organizations in the European Network of Outdoor Sports that work with, that are representing kind of basically trail-based sports. So of course, a lot of outdoor sports aren't trail-based. Skiing or water-based sports, for example, aren't necessarily trail-based in the same way that we think of it is. But trails are something that's key for a lot of outdoors recreational enthusiasts, and we believe that there hasn't been a lot of emphasis on ensuring good trail infrastructure traditionally, especially not at a European level, as far as like financing is concerned from the European Commission. And so this policy paper that we've been working together with these other organizations is meant to try to address this and try to bring attention to the value that trails bring to society, and how society should in turn be supporting these trails and trail infrastructure with the kind of financing that is consistent with the value that these trails bring to society. So this is something that we've been put together. It's out for review right now, and we're getting some good input put on the document as it stands. And our goal is to be able to present this document in September at the Euromeet, which is the semi-annual conference that is organized by the European Network of Outdoor Sports. So that's going to be held in September in Lecco in Italy, and then we should be able to go public with this policy paper. We're still working on the name for it. Some wanted to call it a manifesto. We'll certainly see what it ends up being called, but this document will hopefully lay out some policy visions that we have for how trails can better be financed and support society. Another way that we've been working with advocacy to try to promote access is working with the Europark. Europark is an association of protected areas across Europe. I believe there are about 2,000 protected areas which are associated with Europark today. And the decisions that Europark makes don't necessarily override any kind of decisions that are made on a local level for local parks. But when Europark does make kind of resolutions or present some principles, it does help guide other nature areas and how they should be developing their policy. And so by working together with Europark here, we had a trail building school that we were working together with them in Sweden last fall. We are able to provide, guidance for how trails should be built in a more sustainable manner to ensure that more people can enjoy the outdoors without restricting access to anyone. So again, not just for mountain bikers, but for other forms of outdoor recreation as well, to ensure that everyone can get out and enjoy nature however they choose to do so. And by working with Europark, we've been able to reach out and reach places and people that we wouldn't otherwise really have any kind of inroads into. And so this has been a very valuable way to try to ensure that more people have access to riding in areas where maybe they haven't been allowed to in the past. Another form of advocacy we've been working on is the European Cycling Declaration. This was something that was signed into law last week, actually. It basically just means that there's going to be greater funding and financing opportunities for cycling infrastructure and other forms of cycling initiatives in Europe going forward. Certain transportation budgets are going to be earmarked for cycling and the like. And while mountain biking isn't specifically mentioned in the Cycling Declaration, we do believe that there's going to be a lot of room for using that declaration to try to motivate better investment in mountain biking infrastructure, things that will allow more people to have access to trails close to where they live, and try to get daily use out of these trails to improve public health and provide new recreational opportunities for people all over Europe. And so this is something that we were a signatory of this, and we've worked together with our colleagues at Cycling Industries Europe and the European Cyclist Federation to ensure that this policy came to fruition. And so we're very happy to see that be passed into law last week. Another example of something that's been just also fairly fresh. This was a mountain bike organization in Utrecht in the Netherlands, which over the past, I believe, 4 or 5 years has had an annual fee that riders have paid in order to have access to a trail network. The fee was quite low, an annual fee of, I believe, like €7.50. So it wasn't a real burden for anybody to be able to access these nature areas. And of course, that funding or that money was used to help develop the trails and maintain the trails and keep them in a good shape. But there was also quite a bit of extra money that was collected in this pot, thanks to the fact that the trails were built quite well in the first place, and so the maintenance costs were not nearly as high as had been initially feared by some people. And so this pot was donated last week or 2 weeks ago to the nature park to contribute to nature conservation, over €1 million, which were donated by this organization. And that was not completely uncontroversial in the mountain bike community in the Netherlands. I think a lot of people would have liked to have seen that money spent to build trails or create other kinds of riding opportunities. But at the same time, this was kind of always the plan. It was always known that there was going to be an excess for this fund. And this fund was specifically for riding in this one particular zone, which was basically, it's a completed network. And so by donating this money, it certainly does cast a good light on the mountain bike organization. Other outdoor groups don't have the same kind of ability to make these kind of generous donations, and so that certainly does help cast mountain bikers in a good light. And that's really one of the key things we need to work with, is ensuring that mountain bikers are seen as being a positive contributor to society. Working to ensure that we can increase participation is another aspect of the work that we do. And this is something I think that sometimes is not necessarily always so well understood among mountain bikers. I mean, mountain bikers are always interested in getting out and having new places to ride themselves, and that's understandable. But I think there's also another side to mountain biking, where we believe that mountain biking provides real benefits to us in the form of, providing an outlet for our mental health, and to improve physical health, of course, and enjoy nature and get out and enjoy the outdoors. And if this is something that we believe is beneficial for us, I think we also need to acknowledge that this is something that would be beneficial for more people. If we had opportunities for more people to get out and ride and enjoy nature, that would certainly be a beneficial thing. And so how can we ensure that we can increase participation, or how can we work to ensure that more people have an opportunity to get the same joy out of mountain biking that we do? This is another issue that we've been working with. And the kind of key problem that you see with this is that if you're going to have more people out enjoying the outdoors, enjoying these trails, if the trails are poorly planned and it rains, which it will, there's going to be erosion, right? This is an unescapable fact of working with trails in the outdoors. Is if the trails are poorly planned and there are a lot of people there, and there's water that comes in the form of rain or precipitation in one way or another, that's going to lead to erosion on the trails. And how can we deal with this? We can't deal with the water. That's not something that we can affect in this equation. The visitors, we want them to go up, so we don't want to affect that number in this equation either. And so the one thing that we can really affect, and the one thing that we can do to try to prevent the erosion, looking at this equation, is dealing with the planning and ensuring that the trails are built in a sustainable manner in the first place. And a lot of work that we do is kind of promoting and supporting the volunteer trail builder. The work that they do is hand built, and it doesn't cost really anything but time. Generally, there's some small tool investments and whatnot that might be required. But as a result, the trails that get built primarily by hand crews are not going to have as many users, or not going to be able to accommodate as many users, simply because it's not going to be built in that kind of sustainable manner that's going to allow lots of people to use it. And it's going to be more technical in nature, generally because those are the techniques that are available to the hand crew, and because that's what the hand-built crew is out building in the first place, is they're looking to build infrastructure or trails that are fun for them. On the other hand, you're going to have a professional crew, which was probably going to use some sort of mechanized trail building. This is going to be expensive because you have the professionals and you have the machines, and there's going to have to be a plan that's going to show them how they're going to work. And so all of this is going to contribute to the trails being expensive. But as a result of that, you can get a lot more users on those trails. The trails are going to be of a different character, more flowy generally, and allow people to enjoy the mountain bikes in a different way. And so you do have to kind of balance this, supporting the hand-built crew, or the volunteer trail builders, but also promoting the idea of trails that are being built in this more expensive way that's going to allow more people to get out there and enjoy the outdoors. And if you look at what, as a result of the work that's being done on these different kind of trails, the hand crews, hand-built trails are going to have a smaller impact on society. It's going to support primarily the existing riders. And the mechanized trail building techniques are going to have a perhaps greater impact on society, because there's going to be, more people out enjoying the trails. And you're going to attract new riders who aren't necessarily mountain bikers today. And as a result of that, you can kind of look at the sort of trail typology, the distribution that we recommend if you're looking at developing a new trail center. focusing primarily on blue trails, a few green trails, and a few black and more technical trails, but primarily blues and some reds that will, accommodate the most types of riders and provide the experiences that most people need when they're out there. But that, of course, also is going to be reflected in the cost of developing these trails. And so, talking about promoting mountain biking and advocating mountain biking, and part of that is, of course, trying to bring more public funding into mountain biking. And I know, I was in the UK a couple of weeks ago, and I know that the years of austerity have kind of like left their tracks on the British psyche. I'm really sorry about that, but I do believe that, we need to turn that discussion around. We need to talk about the return on investment, talk about, what investing in trails can do for society and how that can improve people's lives, and showing that's just not, it's not just money that's being spent that's going nowhere, but this is actually a good investment for society, and trying to make those kind of arguments to ensure that more people can get out there riding. So we've been collecting all of these concepts and all these ideas into this advocacy toolkit. This is something that we've been developing and working on, that we can then take these concepts and these ideas from other people and then share them with the rest of the community, so that other people can benefit from the work that's been done to promote advocacy across Europe. Just some very briefly, a few projects that we've been working on. The DIRT project. This is developing training tools for trail builders. This is a project that's received European funding for the last several years. It's in its second kind of round of funding right now, dealing with more rider or trail builder certification. If you want to learn more about that, you can scan that QR code. Trail building schools. This is an offer that IMBA's had for a long time. We'll come out to you and do a couple of days of education, teaching you a little bit about sustainable trail building techniques and how you can work to ensure that your trails can be used by lots of people for a long time. You can scan that QR code for more information there, or follow the link in the bullet below. Take Care of Your Trails is the campaign that Cathy's going to tell you a little bit more about following up. This is our annual campaign to get people to go out and clean up their trails. And of course, need to inform you about the IMBA Europe Summit coming up in May. We're going to be meeting just outside of Vienna this year. It's an easy to access place, and it's a great opportunity to meet colleagues from across the continent and learn more about the work that people are doing to promote mountain biking in their corners of Europe. So that's all for me at this point, but I appreciate having the opportunity to share this with you, and look forward to hearing your stories as well.
Cool, thank you, Hans. So hand straight over to Cathy, and we'll do a combined Q&A after Cathy's presented.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. Let me try to share my screen, see if it's working. Sure. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see. Yeah, we can see it.
All right. So yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Cathy. I will be coordinating this year campaign, Take Care of Your Trails. This is our annual campaign for basically volunteer-based trail maintenance and trail building, where we encourage people to join, and we promote this volunteer work, and we highlight it all over Europe through this event. So it takes place during the entire month of May, but we start already sharing the work from here. So we try to encourage people to start registering for the event, and we also have this year webinars to share the knowledge about mountain biking and trail building and trail maintenance. The main goal for that is to increase the knowledge of our volunteers base in our cruise group, and also to have new people joining, so they will have more information about how to organize their events. So first, as I say, the main goal is to have volunteer work all across Europe, and for that, the main thing it does, it's for you locally. There is several things that could be shared with the community. Is the first thing is like to have better trail close to home or more trails close to home, depending on what your project is. You could also have better, sorry, I'm losing my English. Better relationship, with land manager, land owner, showing that you want to do volunteer works and that you're trying to help around with trail repair, for example, or clean up on their land, on the trails that you are using. There is also a sense of community if you want to build a strong community around your place. It's also very fun, actually, if you just want to have fun and go out there with some tools. It's one of the main things that you could do. It also, as Anne said earlier, it also gives a better image of the mountain biking community and make it look more useful than just people playing around in the woods, but also participating on the trail system and on making it better for everyone. So this year theme is trail building education. Sorry, I think I missed a slide or something somewhere. Yeah, I think I missed a slide somewhere. Sorry. So first of all, the Take Care of Your Trail campaign has been taking place since 2017. It was first an initiative from Scotland and IMBA Europe Fund. It was so great that decided to apply it. And now it's been running every year since 2017. So we haven't missed one edition. And it's been growing every year. We have more and more crews and volunteers joining. We have also more and more countries, with now East European countries like Slovenia and Bulgaria joining in the past few campaign. It was very nice to see those countries also joining as well. So it's not only a Western European thing, which is, it's kind of great that we all have the same goal and we all going, sharing our experience in different way of doing, because the legislation is not the same everywhere, but it kind of interesting to get to talk, because actually the challenges that people are facing to our trails access or trail building or trail maintenance are actually very similar one country to another. So this year, trail building education, as I said, we decided to have 4 webinars put together with basic maintenance classes and with especially speakers from previous editions. So we have volunteers, but also professional trail builders who joined the webinar to share their experience and to try to share the story about what it is to trail build or trail maintain and how much it could bring to you and to your community. So there was those webinars already started in February, but they are available on our YouTube channel, and I will put the link. I will give the link to Robin, so he will be able to share it with you later. I can put it in the chat just after our talk as well. If you want to catch up on those webinars, there was a lot of things that were discussed, like how to organize your dig day, what are the basic tasks for volunteers, but also what are the skills you can learn easily or you can share, the usage of tools, which tools for which type of terrain or which type of task. It was actually very, very full of information, and a lot of even our expert crews or volunteers were very happy about the content. The last one will be end of April, just before the launch of the campaign in May. So if you want to join, if you want to start your own event, it's actually a lot of small steps that are not that hard. I guess you're here because you're all very used to maybe trail advocacy or you're working in the mountain biking industry. So you probably already dig day, or maybe you want to participate in one. Well, the first thing is to find the trail. The second thing that is very close to our heart, I would say, is to obtain authorization. It will go a long way to have authorization to do your trail, because we want to promote this event and we want to be able to promote and highlight the work of the volunteer, and we can't do that if it's not with the proper authorization from landowner or land manager. And it will also usually tend to get more sustainable trails, so your work will last longer in the time. Anyway, plan the work and materials required, set a date, get the word out. Those kind of things are kind of the part that it comes naturally. You can register your event on Take Care of Your Trail website. I will highly encourage you to do it, because then we can highlight your work, and you can also see who else is joining the campaign. And there is this little challenge and competition in between crews. It's very amicable, but it's very nice to follow it. If you want more information, we had the organizer guide translated in 14 languages this year. AI is an amazing tool, and we have so many crews now around Europe that we were able to put that together. So we're very happy about that. And there is also the webinars that are full of information if you want to share them or if you want to catch up. Then on the trail, well, make it fun, have fun with it, make a full day event like some of the crews, morning ride or morning dig and lunch barbecue, and afternoon a ride or a shuttle, or maybe challenges in between you and other crews, or it could be plenty of things. Take videos and photos if possible. At the end of the event, we like to have trail reports so we can highlight the work as much as we can on social media, the website, and also there are awards and kind of a good chance to win for a lot of crews or a lot of people. We have several of them that could be interesting, and this is our way to try to encourage people to join, but also to thank them for their work, because we have with us Specialized, and we also have this year trail tools, so we're going to have a lot of compact tools to give away. We're also probably going to have bikes. We have other things that are coming out, but we're still finishing the touch here and there, so I cannot talk too much about the rest. But definitely there is an outstanding local trail crew award. There is the Protect and Preserve for the conservation effort or proposal from a trail association regarding giving back to nature or building a trail, but in a way that is very sustainable, for example. The Trail Advocate of the Year, and we still have the Youth Trail Advocate of the Year for under 25 years old. So there will be 3 awards in this category: a man, a woman, and a youth. So that's an interesting one as well. I had the pleasure to have one award actually myself, and Fiona, you can see on the screen, had it in 2022, and she is still very, very active in Scotland, and she's doing a lot of trail advocacy work there. So this is a good way to highlight people like her working very hard toward more trails close to home and trail maintenance in general. And obviously there is also the best National Mountain Bike Association. So for our members that are a national entity that could also participate. So it's kind of a full package here for everyone who try something, want to join the campaign, to have an opportunity to win something and to be highlighted during this campaign. We'll do the awards ceremony during the summit that will take place in end of May in Vienna. Like Hans talked to you about it, we probably going to put also the link towards the summit in the chat so you can access it easily. And as I said, the next webinar will be a panel with trail builders and trail advocate, and it will take place the 23rd of April. So join us if you haven't yet. And if you have any question, I will be very happy to answer them.
Cool. Thank you, Cathy. That was brilliant. Thank you. And thank you so much for presenting in English, which we really appreciate. I think if any of us had tried to present in French, we would have struggled a lot more than you did. But yeah, has anyone got any questions for either Cathy or Hans? Hands up. While you're all thinking, I've got a question for Hans I prepared earlier. So, Hans, I mean, obviously you got a reasonable feel for, I suppose the scene in the UK when you were over in Sheffield, and obviously it's not the first time you've been to the UK, and obviously you've interacted with trail associations all over the UK for a long time. I'm really interested to know how does the situation in the UK compare to other European countries? Is it similar or is it different? And if it's different, in what ways? That's that.
I think every place has its own challenges, and even within the UK you have different scenes in different parts of the country, and so like I would hesitate to say that there's in the UK you do it one way and in France you do it a different way. There's a lot of overlap, I think, but I was I mentioned this before when we were there. I think that I was very surprised at the as I said in the presentation, I do think austerity has kind of like had its a big impact on the way that people see public financing. This is something that we do see as being a great opportunity, to really work with trails in a way that maybe volunteer trail crews aren't going to be able to to do the same kind of work that public financing can provide. And so by being so reluctant to even kind of address that, I think that's certainly left a trace on the British psyche. I mean, of course, terrain differs from place to place, and how the terrain kind of affects the riding styles is also that's going to be evident wherever you are in Europe. And I'd hate to say that there's painting in two broad strokes about that, but I do feel that each individual area does have its own kind of unique combination of terrain and riding styles and individuals who really kind of like get the scene going that contribute to how a different place the attitudes in places. But
okay, that makes sense. And just to just to follow up on that, obviously, well, not obviously necessarily, but in the UK, a common theme is trail associations or informal trail groups relationships with their landowners, and often in the UK it's a national forestry service. So in England it's Forestry England, or it's Natural Resources Wales, or it's Forestry Land Scotland. How is that a common situation in Europe, and is it and I suppose how do those other examples of forestry organisations in Europe being really collaborative?
This is one of those things where it's different everywhere you go. Like everywhere has a different tradition as far as land ownership is concerned. In the Nordic countries and in like the Baltic states and in parts of Eastern Europe, you do have this kind of tradition of the right of public access, which is similar to what you would have in Scotland. The bridleway access is not that far off of that, but that's of course just access to the trails themselves and not the nature in general. I actually find that kind of policy in Scandinavia or in the Nordic countries makes it very difficult to get any kind of permission from any landowner to do any kind of like trail building work, because you're allowed to be on their land. Why should you get permission to build a trail? Because you're allowed to be there. Building a trail is just going to attract more people. So the landowner will be very reluctant to give any kind of permission. In a lot of places in Eastern Europe, a lot of the forests are government owned still. They're state land, and so then of course you're dealing with state owned land. In a lot of places, we're looking at riding in places that are actually protected areas, and even though it's maybe a private landowner, it's still managed or administered in some way through this kind of public body as being like an protected space. And so it's not the landowner that's the first level of, the first challenge getting permission. Is actually going through the, whatever kind of protected status is limiting people's access to a trail, or getting into nature areas. And so, yeah, everywhere it looks different, and I think there are lessons to be learned from how certain people have worked. Maybe it's more about the arguments that you use and the alliances that you build, rather than the specific lesson about you do A and then B and then C and then D, but rather looking at the kind of general trends of how you influence decision makers and the like.
Cool, thank you, Hans. Bern, you had a question?
Yeah. Hi, hello, Hans. It's a question for yourself. I was I'd be interested if you could kind of explain the hierarchy of IMBA as regards kind of the national associations as opposed to the associate membership. At the minute, I chair two groups, and we both we have associate membership, but there seems to be kind of like a big gap between the national membership, and particularly I'm interested in Ireland, where I'm based. What could you just kind of explain the IMBA thought process behind the organisation across Europe, and if there's any thoughts about possibly changing the structures to make it more open, or give groups where we need to build capacity, and we feel that the kind of national, the cycling organisations are road centric, that are actually representing on a national level mountain bikers, and they're not particularly helpful to mountain bikers. And so mountain bike groups like the ones I'm involved with, we have to kind of limit ourselves to the associate membership whenever we kind of feel a wee bit more that we would like just a bigger part.
So the way it's set up right now, I can't really speak this to the reasoning when everything was set up. That was before my time. I started getting involved in IMBA a couple of years after, or IMBA Europe at least a couple of years after IMBA Europe was founded. But the model of it is based very much on like the European Cyclist Federation, which is where you have the ECF and IMBA Europe stands as a kind of coordination center between national organizations. Like, we don't go in and do work. We allow our national organizations to be the primary representatives of the mountain bike community in their countries, and we will come in and assist, and we'll try to do whatever we can to to provide guidance, and maybe like help them get European funding for different projects and the like. And so our national organizations represent the mountain bike community in their home countries. And those national organizations are formed in numerous different ways. Like in Sweden, this Cykelfrämjandet is the national member organization, and it's a general purpose cycling advocacy organization. It doesn't organize any kind of sports or anything like that. It's just about cycling advocacy of all different kinds. IMBA Italy is our member organization in Italy. It's a grassroots organization of mountain bikers. In Denmark, you've got the DGI. This is like the National Olympic Committee, basically, that is organizing all kinds of sports. They're the national member organization, and they're much more sport and licensed racing kind of focused organization, but they also represent the mountain bike community. And so like our national members are very, very different. Where we have been having a lot of kind of I wouldn't say issues, but Europe is not so neatly organized into nations necessarily. You have places like we don't have a Belgian member because we have Belgium isn't really organized as a nation. You have your Flemish side and your Wallonian side, and so we have a Flemish participant and we have a Wallonian participant, but neither of them are a national member organization, and that's a bit problematic. We've got recently a new associate member is from Catalonia, and they very much are kind of like distinct from Spain, and don't necessarily want to adhere to IMBA Spain. They want to be IMBA Catalonia and be their own organization. We also have Developing Mountain Biking in Scotland as an associate member organization. So a lot of our associate member organizations are actually more kind of influential and bigger organizations than a lot of our national member organizations. And the other thing I think that's interesting, that I've been reflecting on recently is that, like, some of our strongest member organizations are outside of the EU. We have very strong associations with folks in Norway and Switzerland, and of course in the UK. And so this is something that I think we also need to start addressing going forward, is like how even though we work on trying to address European policy, for example, so many of our member organizations are outside of the EU. And so, like, how can we really work with ensuring that that those sorts of influences that are outside of the EU can also be affected in one way or another. So I will certainly take your advice going forward. We'll try to discuss that when we'll have a meeting before or during the summit, where we will have an opportunity to discuss these things. But we'd certainly like to see more British participation in the work that we do. We'd love to see a national member organization of one kind or another.
Okay,
watch this space. Has anyone got any other questions for either Hans or Cathy? No hands going up, so okay, I shall revert to my questions then. So, Cathy, you talked about people signing up so you can, they can enter the competitions and stuff like that. You talked a bit about promotion and putting people on the map. Are you doing any other promotion of the campaign in sort of the wider mountain bike press or other forms of media or audiences, as part of the campaign?
Yeah, we just had an article in Trail Builder magazine, if I'm not mistaken. We have a good relationship with Sean Bennett, and he was kind enough of giving us space for highlighting the campaign. We're gonna have probably our sponsors like Specialized and maybe Trail Tool gonna do a small push on their own side, and obviously we do it a lot on social media. As I say, if we have crews with photos and their project, we could highlight them during the campaign, and that would be it's always super nice for the crews or the volunteers to see who is doing what in which countries, and that people actually I will say look like them, like everyday riders and sometimes also women and kids and every age and every country in Europe joining. It's kind of nice. So we really want to highlight the crews and the people making it happen.
Okay, cool. And then the competition aspects of it. So obviously one of those prizes is outstanding trail crew. I mean, can you give us any hints on how you're going to, how does a trail crew win that award? How did they win it last year, for example?
Well, it could be the crew that organized the most dig day during 1 month, the crew that had the biggest crowd. But we also look at inclusivity a lot more nowadays. So if crews manage to integrate youth in their dig days and to teach and to raise knowledge and to share knowledge, that could be a big part of it. That could be also by integrating more diverse publics. So it could be women, but also for example, other groups like hikers or horse riders, as much as you can share. So it's basically a community usually that has a great impact and that makes a difference where they are, and that is really trained to build something that will last and to touch, I would say, as many people as they can. It's usually the crew that wins every year. it's very different every year. It could be a small crew, but as I say, they organize a lot of dig days, and they manage to organize it with other communities like hikers or horse riders or paragliders, for example. It could be anything, or it could be a biggest entity that's been just growing and growing through the years, and now is just really, really big and organizing dig days all year round, for example, and not only in May.
Cool. And actually, that was one question I had. It can be any time during May that people do these events, yeah?
Yeah, we really highlight during the month of May, because we discovered that this is probably the month where most community do trail building or trail maintenance, because it's spring. If you live in the mountain, you can access trails by now. So it's probably the best month of the year to highlight it. But some of the crew that's working during this campaign are also organizing dig days all year round. There is some crews have already registered dig days in April, for example. Why not?
Okay, cool. I just want one thing to point out to the crowd. One of the prizes you got on offer is some tools from a French trail building tool company called Trail Tools. You should check out their website. There's some really good tools that they make. So they're a bit like the American Trail Boss tools that sort of break down and are really backpack portable tools. They got some really nice tools by the looks of it.
Yeah, I have one myself, to be fair, because I do shape and volunteer a lot and work on a lot of projects, and we were very happy to bring him on with us this year. He was very generous, so we're gonna have a compact trail tool for every trail advocate, and we're gonna have 2 compact trail tool for the outstanding local crew. So I hope it's gonna make people want to register, because those tools are kind of amazing. I'm trying to find a photo, maybe share my screen at the same time, so maybe that will give you some idea of what we are talking about. But yeah, I have one myself, and I'm in love with that thing, to be fair. It's very, very light and very easy to use, and yeah, kind of amazing.
Cool, and very sturdy as well. Doesn't.
Yeah.
Cool. Has anyone else got any questions? I'm not seeing any hands up at the moment. Okay, I'll ask Hans another question myself. So, I mean, obviously, one of the things we all want is, I suppose, more trails closer to home, and more better trails, that aren't that too far away either. Like you've talked about all the work that you guys are doing at a European level. And obviously a lot of stuff happening at national levels too. But I suppose, what's your vision for 5 years time, 10 years time, 15 years time? Pick a date, but what sort of change do you want to see?
I do think, when we ask our community what they consider to be a trail close to home, people typically say within a 20-minute ride. I'd like to have more people be able to ride their bikes to their trails, to be able to ride on a daily basis. So they don't necessarily have to take a car, drive outside of town to go to some sort of trail center, but that there are, more trails, accessible to people closer to where they live, so they can ride to them. That's something that I would certainly like to see. That if I think it would be, ambitious to say everyone in Europe, but maybe, say 50% of the people in Europe had, a trail within a 20-minute ride of where they live. That would be a fantastic achievement. And, more focus on that kind of like everyday experience that people can, where they can really get the benefits of mountain biking on a daily basis. I think that would be great.
Cool. Okay, well, we've now got some hands. Tim, I think actually, it's probably Hannah, you were first.
Hi, it was just a request, if you could send me whatever the Trail Builders Association or the Trail Builder magazine, whatever it was, has got as a story or a press release, I can publish that. yeah, just Robin, if you hook us up so we have emails, that'd be great.
I'll hook you up afterwards, don't worry. Hannah's the editor of Singletrack magazine, by the way, Cathy. Which obviously you should have said, reminding everyone that they should say who they are, where they're from when they ask questions. So let's see if Tim gets that right.
Probably forget my name, but I'm owner and founder of Revolution Bike Park in North Wales. Wasn't really a question, more just a couple of thank yous, to be honest. Well, firstly, sort of thank you for coming and talking to us. It's really interesting to see what you guys are doing out there, because I think there's a lot of aspiration in this room to achieve similar things in this country, and I'm sure it's been a huge amount of work over many years for you guys. And so I just want to say thank you for sharing the experience, at least in a small way, of that. I did also take time to have a quick look at some of the knowledge-based stuff whilst you were sort of talking, and it reminded me that when we first started out 12 years ago, there was nothing in terms of guidance really for, how do you build a bike park, essentially, and we were just sort of two brothers with a dream and not necessarily all the knowledge we needed. But I do remember that there was an IMBA guide all the way back then into trail building, which is obviously just scanning over what you've got there, and I'd recommend anyone on here to log on to that knowledge base, because just a quick scan to show me how good it looks. But yeah, that was the only thing back then that we had as any kind of sort of something to lean on to know if we were doing things the right way. And so, yeah, I just wanted to sort of say thank you again, and thank you to all of your colleagues and around you, and please pass on that, as I say, your guide was the sort of basic piece of information we had to help us sort of make sure we were doing the right thing when we set up Revolution. So with a big thank you to you all.
That IMBA Trail Solutions book has been a Bible for everybody in the last 20 years or so since it was produced initially, and that really is like I think that book, you can't really understate how much impact that book has had on how trails look today and how the trail building community has developed. It's super important, but it's time to update it, and I know IMBA in the States has created a digital version that you can find on their webpage. We should try to link to it as well. And then we have our knowledge hub from the Dirt Project with a lot of kind of like more accessible digital information about how to do it. And a lot of it's straight out of Trail Solutions, just presented in a new way, because this is it's time for a refresh. But even the stuff in Trail Solutions, none of that was really new either. It was stuff that had been developed by the U.S. Forest Service for their kind of trail manuals in the 1950s, and that was built on experiences they had in the 1930s, and that was all ultimately going back to the Romans. Like, it's all old stuff. There's nothing new under the sun, but it's important that we make it accessible and make it fresh. So
yeah, and I think just to add to that, the feel of it is very much that it's done by mountain bikers, as opposed to by landowners or regulatory bodies or solicitors or things like that. It's very practical in nature, and my sort of brother, and who's our main trail builder, is very practical in nature, shall we say, and even he's found it incredibly useful. So yeah, again, just thank you.
Cool. Kieran? Oh, Kieran's disappeared.
I think I'm back.
Oh, you're there.
Hi, Hans. Kieran. So formerly Cycling UK, now Byways and Bridleways Trust. So I was just, I think a question from me would be, on a Europe-wide basis, have you seen a consistent role for codes of conduct or the principles of what we as a community stand for? Some of us are old enough to remember when things like, skids are for kids. And now we've got lots of roost trails on virgin ground, and, the older principles like leave no trace. And certainly in my journey through mountain biking, I've watched that disappear. And I was wondering whether that conversation is going on Europe-wide about what we stand for and what our principles are, and also the way that interacts with politicians and land managers when they understand what our principles are. So that's sort of my question, if that helps.
Yeah, I think this is something we haven't had as much focus on. We don't want to preach as much to our community, so this is not something that we really necessarily have had a lot of focus on. We do talk a lot about kind of social sustainability and ensuring that mountain biking is not perceived as being a hooligan sport or something that contributes to antisocial behavior. So like that's very important to us. And then again, there's a lot of the more contemporary issues dealing with, of course, climate change and dealing with diversity and ensuring that we are representative and things like that. This is something that we've also been trying to address and work with, but not as in as practical a sense as I suppose as the trail building aspect. Partly because there's a lot of challenges, different language throughout Europe. Things can be interpreted and said in slightly different ways, slightly different traditions as well that you might have in one place over another. And so we haven't really focused as much on that, but we do attempt through our general kind of our outreach and whatever to talk about these issues and to ensure that we are trying to be representative and trying to be especially dealing with diversity and ensuring that more people feel welcome into the sport. It's also something that we like I said before, we do a lot of work together with the industry. I lead this monthly discussion group with industry representatives talking about mountain biking. And one of the things that we really have been trying to kind of address through them is like, hey, you want to support our advocacy work, you also need to ensure that the message that you're spreading about our sport isn't undermining the work we're doing as mountain bike advocates. You need to ensure that don't enough with the skidding in the ads, and make sure that your influence or the people that you're supporting, their influencers or whatever, are also being representative and welcome and opening and ensuring that the sport doesn't get a bad reputation. So it is of course also stuff that's very important for us, and it also kind of is reflected in the work we do together with our some of our European projects. The C project is all about, this was a project that's just wrapped up. It was all about sustainability and environment in education. So like when people are training, like our mountain bike guides, that they ensure that they talk about sustainability and the environment and the work that they're doing to ensure that, talking about braking technique, not just out of, from a performance perspective, but also, of course, about erosion and that kind of thing. So you can see the, traces of that in work that we do, I think, kind of spread all over.
If I can add something, I know also a lot of our members are working on their guidelines, I will say, or best practice, or 10 recommendation, or the 10 rules of a mountain bikers, and I know a lot of national members are trying to put the word out there, like just at the start of trails, for example, on the parking poster, or at the start of the trails as well, just having a few rules. Like you see in some bike park, the pre-ride, re-ride, free ride, which is a logical rule for bike parks, but there is also more about littering and no skidding, or if you skid, please come to our dig days to repair or to build a corner with us, and then you can skid, kind of thing. There is national members working on that. I think it's a concern for a lot of people, but at the same time, it's a very sensitive topic, because we still want to encourage people to ride and to join and be inclusive and be an open community, but at the same time, we need to set some ground rules. So it doesn't seem to be that cool at the same time. Yeah, exactly. The on the right hand side type of guidelines is what we see more and more in places, and it's kind of nice to see that a lot of people are concerned about those be nice, say hi type of messages.
Cathy, if I say I've been particularly impressed with some of the videos put out by MBF Frontas. The videos that they've done on, what is it, not downhill tracks aren't footpaths, and the one that they did about wildlife and stick to the trail, I think was really interesting. It was a really challenging video. I think everyone should watch them if they get the opportunity.
Well, Kieran, send me the links to them afterwards. I'll put them in.
Will do. Yeah,
I'll share them with people. Hans, just going back to the Cycling Industries Europe sort of collaboration you're doing, the sort of monthly meetings you're doing with representatives from mountain bike brands. I mean, just on the question we were talking about, you know, how much traction are you getting in changing their marketing, because they are, lots of them still sponsoring influencers that are behaving very irresponsibly. You know, lots of them, you know, Canyon, for example. Lots of them
Canyon's not a member of CIE, so
right. Okay.
that's a challenge for us right there. But yeah.
You know, and lots of them are sponsoring athletes that are behaving, you know, sort of semi-responsibly. Do you see what I mean? Like there's a spectrum, but you know, and a lot of them are putting out videos that, you know, are not very responsible. You know, that they've created themselves. So, you know, that seems to me like if we could get them to change their behaviour, would be a real quick win. This
is something that's, like I said, it's a constant discussion with them about this, because, you know, the people who are joining our discussions from some of the smaller companies, they are the marketing people, right? You know, they don't have enough resources to have people for, you know, every different thing. So like some of the marketing people are joining, and they certainly understand this message. But then from some of the bigger brands, the people who are joining us they're dealing more with the CSR kind of stuff necessarily. And when we you know, talk about this issue, they say, well, marketing, that's a different part of the company. I don't necessarily have it sway over them. And I do think that, you know, as this keeps bubbling up and keeps becoming a topic, I think that they're starting to understand that this is really a serious thing that the industry needs to start thinking about in a broader sense. And you know, I see some potential there. There's been a lot of, like, you know, industry pledges in the last few years to deal with, like, you know, sustainable packaging. Like this was a very kind of simple thing that, like, hey, they decided, you know, all the signatories from the industry said, hey, we're going to ensure that all of our packaging is sustainable by, I think it's this year. And like, you do see this when you're going out and, you know, when you order a new set of grips, suddenly the grips aren't like covered in plastic in a clamshell anymore. Like they're, you know, wrapped in paper or like on a cardboard cutout or whatever. And things like that are becoming more obvious, that the sustainable packaging has certainly made an impact. And so we'd like to see a similar kind of industry pledge, you know, about promoting and the, you know, how they will promote the brand in a responsible way and ensure that the sport is not, you know, negatively reflected in that. But we'll certainly there's certainly work to still be done on that.
Yeah. Well, it's a great idea, especially if it's phased in. You know, they sign up to it as a concrete commitment. There, you've got 100% my personal backing at least. I'm not claiming it's everyone shares my opinion on it at all, but it's a personal bugbear of mine. Cool. And then I suppose a follow-on question to that. You know, what other changes are you hoping to see through that sort of collaboration with the brands?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we'd like to ultimately see more funding, you know, to the sport. You know, if we're going to ensure that more people have access, we're going to have to, you know, see more money being spent building sustainable trail infrastructure. And I think this is something that's important for all forms of outdoor recreation, right? I think that you know, we are mountain bikers. We're coming at this from a mountain bike perspective, but I think that all of society would benefit from, you know, better outdoor recreational infrastructure, and that this is a really low-hanging fruit that's certainly something we can try to influence. And I'd like the industry to see and understand that their money and their influence can be leveraged to ensure that money, like, obviously, the bike industry is not going to pay for those trails. It's beyond the capacity of what the bike industry can pay for. But they certainly can, use their influence to leverage greater public investment, and that's something I would like to see going forward. Hopefully, through supporting groups like IMBA and ECF and local trail initiatives. But also, through their general kind of, lobbying and advocacy work that they also can have an impact on policy.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Tim's got a question.
Yeah, not sure if it's particularly either yourselves area, but I was just interested in the trail rating system, the international trail rating system, and just if you had any thoughts or experiences to share that, because I know it's something that we've struggled with a lot in this country, and I'm about to be re-signing and regrading a whole bike park of the trails, and I'm just curious as to what your experience of that has been.
You mean the ITRS?
Yeah.
No, the ITRS is this is something that I think has been a long time coming. There's been a lot of discussion about, the basic, kind of green, blue, red, black, not necessarily, covering enough of the kind of bases as far as what might make a trail challenging, or what might, scare someone off, or what might be dangerous or not, whatnot. And so the ITRS does kind of address those things, and it's something it's a work in progress as well. There have been small modifications to their kind of criteria over the last year. So they do, they're being receptive to criticism or concerns from the community about how the, grading should be implemented. So I think that that's been quite good, and I do believe that I believe the criteria are quite well established and quite well the fundamentals behind them are quite well thought out, and so it's been our member organization IMBA has been actively involved in developing that together with Misha from Switzerland, and so I believe it's quite good. I do think it's a bit problematic that it gets a little complicated. You have to kind of read into the details to really understand it, but at the same time I think it's much more transparent than, say, the climbing community. I know that climbing has a very Byzantine sort of trail rating or climbing rating system, which you really have to be involved in the climbing community to even begin to understand. And I think that this is a little more transparent and easy to understand, at least, than that. And that's a step in the right direction anyway.
Yeah, I think it's carry on.
No, I
Cathy.
just wanted to add that it will be part of one of the conversations we will have at the summit, if I'm not mistaken. We put it in the program, and it will be one of the breakout sessions about the trail rating, because definitely you are not the only one with questions. I think we all have, and there is a lot of difference across Europe, but even across the world right now, that we like to narrow the gap, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah, come to the summit. Learn more.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I think I've looked through it several times, and I think it's a very good piece of work. I think it's inherently sort of trying to create a one size fits all for something which ranges from, in theory, let's say kids on starter bikes right up to sort of pro line tracks, and I think it's always going to be difficult. I think the concern I've always had with any kind of standardization, and it's probably not the forum to have the discussion, is on the sort of liability perspective. When you start saying this trail, I mean, we have trail grading, we have clear information, I recognize the importance of that, but when you start to have a sort of standard which is applied across a very large geographical area in a very large range, you start to run into issues where you could potentially see at one place something which someone could challenge as not being as difficult or being more difficult at a different place, which could lead to sort of black holes when it turns to sort of liability, which is me being a bit alarmist about it. I still think on balance, this is a good way forward. And I'd be keen to see something like this. I just think, I'm just thinking in the context of my bike park, for example, looking through some of the standards, you know, we would be probably on the extreme end for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And some of the
for a bike
definitions
park, I mean, I think you could probably ignore the wilderness perspective and the endurance perspective, right? Those are not necessarily going to be liability concerns. It's more the exposure and the technical difficulty. And technical difficulty, I assume that you've already been, you know, rating your trails in one way or another with that. And exposure simply, it's a way to kind of expand on the technical difficulty and talk about, you know, what's the risk of fatality on a trail, like a blue trail that has a, you know, it could be perfectly smooth and wide and perfectly rideable, but there's a 20-meter drop off of the right, you know, that would lead to certain death. And so like that would suddenly, you'd have a blue technical trail with a black exposure rating, for example. And that's something that, you know, you might see.
And I think that's a really smart solution, having the breakdown like that. I think my head is still in the technical difficulty because that's kind of where we exist.
Well, in France, we have that for bike parks. We have a technical difficulty norm because, for example, everything that is blue should be rideable. Or rollable, so tables and stuff like that. Everything that is red should have a chicken line and should be well in advance announced. And everything that is black doesn't have to need to have a chicken line, and you know that this is black and sometimes will be mandatory. So this is the basic line of things, but this is the way we do things. And in France, they put together like a, I don't know, 45-page paper on all of the norms regarding the length, the size of the drop, the size of the gap, and how you should build a jump, or have chicken line signals in ahead of time. It's but even with those norms and those rules, you still find the wrong jump on the wrong line, and you have liability and safety issues. I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds almost identical to the standards we have, you know, no gaps in the main line of a red run, you know, only onto blacks and things like that. So, you know, like I say, I think it's a very sensible and good piece of work. It's just, trying to adopt it across such a wide range is a challenge.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Well, look, has anyone got any more questions for Cathy or Hans? Otherwise, I will move on to the next part of the call. Okay, cool. I'm all just right.
Thank you, everybody. Then it's quite late here, and so I will be heading off to bed. But it was nice chatting with you all, and please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any further questions or if we've piqued your interest in one thing or another.
Cool. Thanks very much, Hans.
Thank you.
Thank you. Same for me. Have a great evening, and thanks for having us.
The plan was now for me to take you through the Trail Hub. So here we are. Hopefully you can all see it on my screen. Let me just change the size of you guys so I can see it as well. So yeah, this is it. This is the home page. At the top here, you can see 3 sort of editorially highlighted stories, which won't change very often. They're just ones that I choose there. I can choose to put in front of people on a regular basis. Underneath that, you can see on the left-hand column here, a list of all the different categories within the site, effectively containers for all the content. And I'll talk about each of those in a moment. On the right-hand side, you're seeing, let me just click on that. On the right-hand side here, we're just seeing a list of the latest topics where people have commented, basically. So either new topics or older topics where people have left a comment on underneath. And you can just see that in chronological order. As you can then also see, we've got a little new button here. So this is just basically different views of the same content. So if I click on new, it's going to show me all of the new posts that have been posted since I last came to the site. Again, just in chronological order. Unread is going to show me posts that I've previously read but the people have added more posts to since I left. So I'd read half of it, but someone's left a comment, or a few people have left comments since I last been. So that one, for example, Best Trail Tool has had 3 comments on it that I haven't seen. And if I click on it, it'll take me straight to the new part of the conversation. So it won't show me the old stuff that I've seen before. As you can see here, I'm sort of clicking on the logo at the top left-hand side to get back to the home page. That will always take me back to the home page. Latest is showing me just all the latest posts, or either new posts or new comments from people. Hang on 1 second. So a mixture of new. Hot is sort of based on popularity. So what's sort of trending at the moment, if you like. And top is just more raw popularity over a period of time. So as you can see, it's showing me the last. It's showing it over the last quarter's time period. But if you want, you can change it to show you what's hot over the last. So what's top over the last week, or all time over the whole last time on the site. These ways of sorting content will start to get more interesting over time as we get more and more content on the site. So just to look at the menu here on the left, topics takes you back to that latest view. My posts, if you've made any, will show you all the contributions you've made. Members is a user directory, so you can see who else is on the site. Scroll through it, find out more about everyone else who's on the site and what they're up to, what their websites are, etc. If you click on someone, you can then send them a message if you want, a private message on the site. You can also see that members have various different badges. They're sort of automatic badges that you earn through the software system just by participating on the site, by liking and commenting and things. So you'll see that over time you start to build up badges of your own as you use the site. Then underneath on the left-hand side, you can see the categories again. So again, they're the same as the ones you're seeing here, just this time in alphabetical order. But there's just a shortcut to each of those categories' home pages. So if I click on landowner relations, obviously you can see everything in landowner relations. If I check on Trailhub feedback again, you can see everything in that category. Underneath that are tags, which are a bit like categories, are ways of grouping content, but they're tags that are I've applied to each of the posts and will continue to do so as the site is going on. So there, for example, I've clicked on Forestry England. I can see all the posts that are tagged with Forestry England, or I can see all the tags that are tagged access rights. And interestingly, if I go to all tags, I can then see all of the tags in a tag cloud. So you can see the popularity of different tags. I'm just gonna have to let my dog out the back door 1 second. Sorry about that. Right, and then so again, if you click on it, you can see all the tags for Forestry England. And if you want to look at all of the tags, not just in the word cloud, you can see sort of underneath, you can see some of the smaller ones there that you don't see in that word cloud. So digging then into the content itself, as you can see, we've got these different categories. The first one showing here, and these are just ordered in the most recency of a post. So because someone's posted recently in the Get Organised category, that's coming at the top. So having a look there, all of these posts are about the administration side of setting up or running a trail association or bike park, everything from constituting a sales, funding, insurance, planning permission, training, diversity, inclusion, marketing, etc. And as you can see, there's not many posts in there yet. Obviously, been only live for a month, but you can see all of those sort of posts. So there's a nice post here about someone asking about whether they should register as a community interest company and the accountancy fees associated with that. And as you can see, there's a whole conversation where people are contributing and giving answers to that question, basically. Again, going back to the next category, trail building. So this is where we just talk about all aspects of trails, trail maintenance, trail building, everything from dig days, trail inspections, trail cleans, trail building, trail grading tools, sustainability, etc. And again, you can see there's quite a few posts in there already. You know, everything. There's a post here that I posted just about some new North Shore that's gone in an unofficial trail in Surrey Hills, and you know, people explaining why landowners don't like North Shore very much. You know, clean post from Andy, who's on the call, and Tim, who's on the call. We've got a general category for posts that don't fit into anything else. Landowner relations. So for people to share experiences and learnings from the interactions with their landowners, other stakeholders, you know, everything from their landowners' policies to relationships with other user groups, walkers, local businesses, etc. And again, you can see there's a few different posts in there. So an interesting one from a recent NBR article about Forestry Land Scotland consulting about making green and blue trails in Dalbeattie multi-use. So horse riders and walkers would have access to those trails, and there's a conversation about that. Through to a conversation about you know, whether someone should take on, the council's asking them to take on insurance responsibility, so landowner liability for a pump track that they're thinking about building, and whether that's a reasonable thing to do so. And again, people who've had experience with pump tracks and running pump tracks sharing their experience of that. Then a category called Growing the Alliance, just about what we're doing, what we could be doing, what we should be doing, what we could be doing better as the UK Trail Alliance. Relatively few posts in that categories, but that's a container for that sort of conversation. A container for our newsletter category, so just all the newsletters I've sent out over the last year. So actually, as of this month's newsletter that goes out there, another month we'll have a year's worth of newsletters in there. So if you missed any at the beginning, feel free to go and read them. I doubt many of you will, but that's where they are anyway. And then the library category, where we've tried to put, I suppose, all the sort of reference material, all of the sort of stuff that hopefully is useful for us as an alliance to share with each other, and yeah, help you guys do your jobs as trail associations or informal trail groups, or as bike parks. So there's a post here on funding for trail associations and bike parks. That was took quite a lot of time to put together, but some general advice, some guides that we recommend people read before they apply for funding, and then lots of links to sources of fundings, both at a local level and nationally across all 4 of the UK nations. So yeah, take a look at that if you're interested in looking at funding. Again, an article here about safeguarding, trying to give our best advice about the different approaches you could take to safeguarding if you need to put a safeguarding policy in place and everything that goes around that policy. Again, a page on training. So lots of different resources to different types of trainings, from management training to first aid training, safeguarding we talked about, risk assessment and method statement training, trail inspection, maintenance coordination training, some training videos, and then again, some of the stuff we were talking about on the previous on the call, some of that sort of reference material about you know, that are relevant to trail building and planning trail building projects. So lots of stuff in there that may be worth looking at. So I'm not going to go through every single page, but as you can see, we've got lots of other guides in there. So a guide on how to find out if your trails are on protected land, a page each on Scotland's, England's and Wales's unauthorised trails guidelines and links to all of that stuff. A page on landowner liability, some case studies of trail advocacy stuff from around the world, research into mountain biking and its effects, to sort of a collection of different academic studies that help prove various things about mountain biking and what it does. An archive of mountain bike and bike park planning applications. And also some stuff about an archive of basically all the trails that we've lost, not all of them by any means, but just trying to log all the trails that have been closed for whatever reason, whether they be unauthorised trails or bike parks that have closed down, just as useful reference. And then some some pages about access rights in England, some archives of mountain bike conferences, including and often some of the actual the talks from the conferences recorded as Zoom or YouTube videos, access rights in Wales, lots of articles about mountain bike trails in the press, a section on equity, diversity, and inclusion, some stuff about some Landover specific conferences where they've talked about unauthorised trails and some of the recordings from those conferences, and again lots of an archive of lots of articles about mountain bike trails in the non-mountain biking press, the mainstream press. So yeah, there you go. There's lots of stuff in there that hopefully keep you all busy. And then again, a category just with all of our Zoom meetings in it, basically. Just again, a bit like the newsletter category, just an archive there so you can go back and watch any of our Zoom meetings in future if you want to. And then a category to contain any posts that are sort of talking about the Trail Hub itself, how it could be better, what we should be doing, how it works, all that sort of stuff. So there we go. So also there is some search functionality. Just quickly show you that. So if you obviously you can navigate the site the ways I've shown, but also if you want to search for something, for example, Bike Park Wales. As you can see, you get some results that come up. And you can click through to any of them in the same way that a normal search engine works. Forest of Dean, for example, when it comes up with a slightly bigger search. So you get the top results there, but you should be able to then click on the more button and you get a bigger results page with more results on it. So back to the home page then, and actually start to look at some of the posts themselves and how we interact with them. Obviously, a good place to start would be the welcome to the UK MTB Trail Alliance post, where we're trying to welcome people into site and signpost some of the content. But as you can see, you can do various things here. You can see who wrote the post. In this case, it's the system itself. But again, you can look at that in the same way we did in the user directory. You can see who did that. You can like or express various different emotions on that post. We then can perhaps go into that come in and say hi post. So this is a post where we're asking everyone just to introduce themselves on the site. So as you can see, so far there's 50 odd people that have introduced themselves. So it'd be great if you all could do that. But just to demonstrate how you actually post on the site, if we get through to the bottom, you can either reply to people individually, so it actually references them in the post, that particular post, or you can just reply to the overall topic, which is what I'll do here. And again, you can just write your message in, but if you want to make something a link, you can highlight the text and put that in and put your link in. The software is quite clever, so if you're linking to, for example, to 1 second, can't actually access my part of my screen. But yeah, if you're, for example, linking to a as you can see there, it'll actually do a nice little preview for you. You can just paste the link in. That's sensitive, so if you put it there, it doesn't work. You need to give it a paragraph space, and that preview will appear. YouTube videos work in the same way. I'll just close that. And then, if you want to create a new post, to create a new conversation about something, just go into the category that's most relevant. Don't worry too much about that. I can always change categories later. You don't need to worry about the tags. I'll add them later. Or you can just do it straight from the home page. Just click on new topic, write the title in there, write the title in that box, and then write your post, add some links. You can quote if you want to block quote text just to show you're quoting from someone else, you can use that. Various other sort of standard ways of formatting text that you're used to from other software products there. and go ahead and post. Simple as that. That was as much as I wanted to say about the subject. So has anyone got any questions? Let me stop sharing. Hey guys.
No, it's all good. Thank you, Robin. Good little guide.
Cool. Okay. No questions from anyone on any of that? Oh, Bern's got his hand raised. Thank you.
Robin, I was just going to say, just congratulate you on a really good session tonight. I think it was brilliant to get IMBA involved in it, particularly in what the Alliance is doing, and I thought it was very useful, and also the hub that you've created. It's just a wealth of information. It's a fantastic resource, and it's going to go from strength to strength. I think it's great work, and I do. I personally appreciate all the stuff you're doing, because I know that it's very time consuming, and well done. You're doing a good job. And thanks.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. I appreciate that. For some reason, I'm not seeing people's hands in order, but Andy.
Oh no, that's a reaction. We're just clapping.
Oh right, okay. Is Ian also doing the same reaction rather than asking a question?
Yeah. Sorry, should have gone with that instead.
Oh look! Oh, little hearts. That's brilliant.
Confusing.
Cool. So, Jim, you've got a question.
Yeah, just quickly. I've only just logged onto the Trail Hub, and I've been spending some of this call going through it. It looks really, really good. It's the first time I've seen a lot of those NRW informal internal guidance documents about wild trails and all that. So, it's brilliant to see all that stuff. Finally, as a rider, we're able to see what they've been looking at internally and how they're managing it. So that's all, really good. One question I've got is the invites to the Trail Hub. Has that just gone out to people who you've had on your mailing list, or is that free to other people to join? And specifically, are there NRW members that are also now having a look at all these posts? So I kind of want to introduce myself. I kind of don't. And I'm sure there's probably a few other people in that category where you don't necessarily want to put your hand up regarding unofficial trails.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm just checking for Andy from NRW is still on the call. But yes, there is a post about that which I wrote ages ago, and I will bump up so it's more visible now. But just to summarize, at the moment it is purely people I've invited. No one else can get on the site unless I've invited them. And it is everyone that I've been talking to over the last year that's either a trail association, an informal trail group, or a bike park. There is no one else on there, right? So no NRW, no other landowners, no British Cycling, no mountain bike brands, no journalists, just us as a group. But my intention is hopefully we're having adult conversations with nothing to hide. So we'll see how it goes. At some point in the future, I will poll everyone and ask people probably, whether we're comfortable having each of those different groups invited in. And we'll see how the polling goes. I'm hopeful that we will invite them in, and that everyone's, and obviously we'll do that. Anyone that's not comfortable with that can make their own decisions, but obviously they're free to go back in time and delete stuff that they don't want people reading, if that were to happen. But right now you're completely free to say anything you want. And as you can see, there's been some fairly robust comments from people in places, but not many. But, again, nothing I don't think that we should be worried about a landowner or any other group seeing, because, it has to be about honest and open communication, right? But for now, you've got nothing to worry about, is my point. And then in terms of, who we want on the platform. So obviously I only really, in most cases, only know 1 or 2 people from each of the groups, but each of your groups, will have 5 or 6, 10 people in them. So if you want to bring the rest of your group on board to the platform, which I very much want you to, then just please ping me their email addresses and I'll invite them. But, rest assured, there's no way of anyone getting in without me inviting them. So there's no one going to see, no one's going to get in surreptitiously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. No, I appreciate it. I think there's a lot of people, I don't know, particularly around South Wales, that do a lot of digging and building and things, but it's almost like there's a lot of people on the fence. We can see it'd be great to be official for certain reasons, but then no one wants to upset the status quo we've got at the moment. So yeah, it's an interesting time, but it's really good to see all the stuff that's in there, you know, all the stuff that's on the hub and the information, you know. There isn't always like a head to the group that can say, let's take our trails official. And there'll always be some people that don't want to do that and some people that do. So it's yeah, difficult, I suppose, when people just informally dig and do their own things.
Cool. Andy, you had a question?
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, I was only going to ask: are you planning to take everything on the site sort of public, so to speak, or have you got the option to just limit some of the conversations to just the core group, and is that part of it?
Well, yes. So again, currently search engines can't see the site, so you know there's no way of seeing the site unless you've got a login. So you know,
but within that login, could you have like a journalist or a trade login or a bike company which can't see some of the other discussions we're having?
Yeah, potentially we could do that.
Yeah,
it would be a bit complicated because the way the software model works is we can create groups that can see certain content, but the general public can sort of see everything but those groups. So it would be complicated. It's sort of what you want to do is have certain groups that are visible to just some people, and you can't really do it that way around.
More of a curiosity at the moment.
Yes, there's not necessarily an easy way of doing that, but we can look at all that models as and when that time comes. But I think we're a month or two away from that stage. Really, I want to see how things go and make sure we all feel comfortable talking as a group before we widen it out. Hannah, you got your hand up.
Yeah, so as a journo that's sitting in all these meetings, I can't get into this hub yet. I'm not allowed in. But it does strike me in the conversation that the points that the last person was raising, that there's perhaps a gap between the people that are out there potentially digging and don't really know what they're doing, and you folks that are kind of forming some kind of more formal alliance or whatever. And there might be things in that hub that it would be useful to get out to the public, like how do you find out if your land is protected, for example, so that you could not build on land that is protected in some way. Like some of those things might be quite useful to sort of pull out from the hub, and I could publish them as web stories. And then people will be able to Google search them, but without you having to make people part of your hub and more kind of involved, nuanced discussion. So that could be a way, if you sort of treat it like fact sheets or press releases or whatever, like this is a message you want to get out there and kind of lift it off the hub. And it could be reciprocal as well, where you might be trying to find out about something that's happening. Or like lost trails was the discussion I had with Robin the other week. And you could get random readers from all over the world to be contributing the lost trails that they remember from 20 years ago or whatever. And then that would contribute to your own kind of library of information. So yeah, maybe there is a role for the public media already to be a gateway between, like it gives people a taster, doesn't it? Like you can give people information that then might equip them to go, actually, no, I want to know more, and I can go and apply to my local trail group or the hub or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it, is actually pulling out content every now and again. Obviously works great from a PR perspective as well for the UK MTB Trail Alliance. We will definitely do that, Hannah, once we're launched. Which is my internal response to everything. Graeme, you had your hand up.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to, Graeme Berry, Tayside Trail Association. I just wanted to kind of pick up on the whole unofficial thing, because we're kind of in a slightly unique situation in Scotland, that we have the right to be everywhere. We don't necessarily have the right to build trails, but the trails are already there. So we kind of officially manage trails that were built unofficially. So basically, we've adopted a whole bunch of illegal stuff and are now responsible for maintaining it, and sit kind of somewhere between Forestry and Land Scotland in most cases, not all of them, and the guys that actually built these trails. Some of them have come on board, some of them haven't, some of them are reluctant. But what we found is as you speak to everybody and get these conversations going, you know, Forestry and Land Scotland will come to us for assistance with their messaging around forestry works and how they keep riders out of areas where they're working, and we can help them with that. The guys who dig unofficially see that, you know, we can bring in, if we need to, we can bring in machinery and vehicles and haul tons of rock up the hill to build new climbs and stuff. We can do things that they can't do unofficially. And it's just getting that conversation going. And you kind of have to start somewhere. And at some point you have to be like, hey, look, let's just start speaking about this. And the more you speak about it, the more trust you build up. Everybody kind of starts to see positives in everything. And it just sort of develops from there. So there's definitely nothing to be scared of, I don't think, but you have to be very careful about it.
On that front, did you just assume that everything that had been there for 20 years was fine?
Well, basically, the way it works is we have agreements that we negotiate, and we were in the process of negotiating one just now. And how it kind of started off was we had certain trails that were officially adopted that we were allowed to work on. And then the reality of the situation on the ground is sort of moving now towards, okay, this is your area, as long as trails aren't popping up left, right, and centre. And the land managers, we're very lucky in the east of Scotland that our local forestry guys are really on board with what we're doing. But we've built that up over, you know, the Trail Association's existed for 4 years now, but a lot of the guys that founded it and were working on things have been involved with running events and running digs and things for way longer than that. We have that trust that they can trust us, that we're not going to be building like, you know, enormous road gaps. We're not going to be spitting riders out into where horse riders are going to be. And, you know, they trust that we can be trusted, and we're a reasonably sensible, reasonably professional organization. And, you know, once that trust's built up, yeah, it kind of is, okay, you guys have this forest, we trust you to manage what's going on in there. There is a lot of don't ask, don't tell, and nudges and winks and things go on here and there, but by and large it works. But you have to build up that relationship, and the first step to that is just, like I say, just getting talking in the first place.
Cool. Any other questions or comments from anyone? And then any questions or comments for each other? Has anyone got any questions they want to ask the group? Obviously, you've now got the Trail Hub to ask those questions too. So don't kick yourselves too hard if you forget about it now and remember it later. No? Okay, cool. Well, look, thank you very much, guys. I probably should have said a bigger thank you to the IMBA Europe guys before they left. But if you're watching this back, thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate you. Really appreciate you joining us this evening. And yeah, as usual, I really appreciate all of you guys joining. Thank you so much. Sorry it wasn't quite as professional as it has been previously this evening, but I will now I've got the permissions on my computer to share my screen. I won't make that mistake again. I can't promise my dog won't be asked to be let outside again though. But yeah, thanks very much, guys. Have a good evening, and I'll see you all next month.